She gave every grandchild a gift, except my daughter. I sat there, frozen, watching as my mother-in-law's wrinkled hands passed shiny wrapped boxes to every child in the room. Laughter and squeals filled the air as paper tore and toys sparkled in little hands. But beside me, my daughter sat still, her tiny fingers gripping the hem of her dress, her wide brown eyes darting from cousin to cousin. One by one, every child received something. A doll, a book, a necklace, even crisp folded bills stuffed in glittering envelopes. My daughter's smile started bright but slowly faltered, until it disappeared completely. By the time the last gift was handed out, my little girl sat empty-handed. Forgotten. Overlooked. My heart clenched as I saw her lower her gaze to the floor, tears threatening to spill. I could hear the whispers. I could feel the eyes on us. Some pitied. Some judged. And then, my husband stood up. He walked slowly, purposefully, his face unreadable. In his hands was a small wooden box, one I had never seen before. He set it on the table, clicked it open, and the room fell into a suffocating silence. What he revealed inside made my breath catch. And at that moment, I knew, nothing about our family would ever be the same again. Please do make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to support us. My name is Elena, and I am a mother before anything else. That night, as I watched my daughter's trembling lip and her desperate attempt to stay brave in front of everyone, I felt something inside me crack. She was only 7, old enough to notice she'd been left out, too young to understand why. "Mommy," she whispered, tugging my sleeve. Her voice was small, fragile. "Did Grandma forget me?" The words pierced me sharper than any knife. I glanced around the room, catching the smirk of my sister-in-law, the satisfied gleam in her eyes. She had always treated my daughter like an outsider, as if my little girl didn't belong because I wasn't good enough for their family. And maybe, just maybe, my mother-in-law thought the same. I wanted to speak, to scream, to protect my daughter from this cruel humiliation. But before I could, my husband, usually so quiet in these family gatherings, rose to his feet. That wooden box in his hands glowed under the warm light of the chandelier. The way he held it, almost reverent, almost defiant. And as he looked at his mother, then at his daughter, I knew something was about to change. My name is Elena, and I have never hated silence more than I did in that moment. The sound of laughter and crinkling paper faded as I glanced at my daughter, my little Sophia, sitting empty-handed while her cousins clutched their shiny new gifts. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but she pressed her lips together, trying to be strong. "Did Grandma forget me?" she whispered, so softly only I could hear. I squeezed her tiny fingers, my throat tightening. "Of course not, sweetheart," I lied. But deep down, I wasn't sure. Across the room, my mother-in-law beamed with pride, basking in the joy of every grandchild she had remembered, except mine. And worse, she never even looked in Sophia's direction. As if she wasn't there. As if she didn't exist. The whispers began almost immediately. I could feel the burn of eyes on us. Poor thing. Didn't even get a gift. Maybe they couldn't afford one. My chest ached. It wasn't about the gift, it was about what it meant. Sophia was being singled out. Humiliated. But before I could say anything, my husband rose to his feet. He walked slowly to the center of the room, holding a small wooden box. I hadn't even noticed him bring it in. My heart skipped as every conversation ceased, every laugh quieted. The wooden box was worn but beautiful, carved with intricate patterns. My husband set it on the table, his face unreadable. Then, with a quiet click, he opened it. And what he revealed inside left everyone stunned. Gasps echoed around the living room. I craned my neck, trying to see over shoulders as everyone leaned closer. Inside the box was something I had never seen before. At first, it looked like papers, aged, yellowed documents tied with a ribbon. Beneath them, something glimmered faintly in the light. My breath caught when I realized it was a necklace, an antique, with a sapphire stone so deep it looked like a captured night sky. My husband's voice broke the silence. "This," he said, his tone calm but cutting, "doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to my mother. It belongs to my daughter." Every eye in the room turned to Sophia. She blinked, confused, before shrinking back into my side. My mother-in-law stiffened. Her smile faltered. "Daniel," she hissed, her voice sharp. "What are you doing?" But my husband ignored her. He reached into the box, lifted the sapphire necklace, and held it high for everyone to see. "This necklace," he continued, "was given to my grandmother by her father. It was meant to be passed down to the first granddaughter of each generation." He paused, his eyes locking on his mother's. "And yet, somehow, you decided my daughter wasn't worthy." My heart pounded. My palms went cold. The whispers had turned into shock, into sharp intakes of breath. My mother-in-law's face went pale. "That's not true," she started, but her voice trembled. "Isn't it?" My husband cut in. "You gave every grandchild a gift tonight, but not mine. And don't think I didn't notice. You wanted to erase her, just like you've been trying to erase Elena from this family since the day we married." I froze. The room was dead silent. My husband stepped closer to Sophia and knelt before her. His voice softened. "But no one will ever erase you." And then, in front of everyone, he fastened the sapphire necklace around her small neck. Tears welled in my eyes as I watched my daughter's lips part in awe. The stone shimmered against her skin, glowing almost like it had been waiting for her all along. The entire room was stunned into silence. For a moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the faint clink of the sapphire pendant as it settled against Sophia's chest. My daughter's small hands brushed the stone, her wide eyes flicking from her father to me, as though she wasn't sure if she was allowed to believe this was real. Then the whispers began again. Louder this time. "First granddaughter." I thought it went to Claire's girl. Why would she skip over Sophia? I felt my heart pounding against my ribs. I knew my mother-in-law didn't like me, but this was deliberate cruelty. My husband wasn't finished. He reached back into the wooden box and carefully untied the ribbon around the stack of papers. "These," he said, lifting them for everyone to see, "are letters. Old letters. Written by my grandmother, meant to stay with the necklace." He scanned the page, his brow furrowing as he read silently for a few seconds. Then he looked up. "They explain everything. About why the necklace must go to the first granddaughter, and about what it represents." A hush fell over the room. My mother-in-law's face hardened. "Daniel, stop this nonsense. Those papers are nothing but old sentimental scribbles. Don't embarrass yourself in front of everyone." But his eyes never left hers. Embarrass myself, or expose the truth? The tension in the room was suffocating. I leaned forward, my voice barely above a whisper. "Daniel, what does it say?" He handed me one of the letters. My fingers trembled as I unfolded it, the paper fragile with age. The handwriting was elegant but firm, each word pressed into the page as if the writer wanted to be remembered. "To my granddaughter, and to every firstborn granddaughter after her, This necklace is not just an heirloom. It carries our name, our history, and our protection. No matter what others may say, you belong to this family. Do not let anyone make you feel otherwise. My throat tightened as I read the words aloud. When I looked up, I saw something flicker across my mother-in-law's face. Guilt. Fear. My husband's jaw clenched. You tried to bury this, didn't you? You wanted to give the necklace to Claire's daughter instead. Pretend Sophia didn't exist. Pretend Elena and I didn't matter. His mother stammered, her voice breaking. I only wanted what's best for the family. No, his voice was like steel. You wanted control. Sophia tugged gently at my arm, her voice tiny but trembling. Mommy, why doesn't Grandma like me? The question cut through the air like a blade. My chest tightened. My mother-in-law flinched. And I, speechless, pulled my daughter into my arms, shielding her from eyes that suddenly felt cruel. The room was cracking. Old secrets, unspoken resentments, hidden truths, everything was bubbling to the surface. But what my husband revealed next would shatter it completely. The room felt heavy, like every breath carried weight. My daughter's question still hung in the air. Mommy, why doesn't Grandma like me? My mother-in-law's lips pressed into a thin line. She shifted in her chair, her hands tightening on the armrests. I could see it, the way her eyes darted, the tremor in her jaw. She was cornered. Daniel didn't let her breathe. Tell her, Mother, he said sharply. Tell Sophia why you left her out. Tell everyone the truth you've been hiding for years. Her head snapped up. Daniel. No, he interrupted, his voice thunderous. No more lies. Not tonight. The family shifted uncomfortably, eyes bouncing from my husband to his mother, to me. My sister-in-law leaned forward eagerly, like she was watching a stage play. The cousins clutched their gifts, whispering behind wrapping paper. Finally, my mother-in-law exhaled, her voice cracking. She wasn't supposed to be here. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean? I asked, tightening my hold on Sophia. Her gaze locked on me, sharp and bitter. I begged him not to marry you. I begged him to think of the family name, of the traditions. But he wouldn't listen. He chose you, and then came her. She pointed at Sophia, and my daughter shrank against me. Rage boiled in my chest. She's your granddaughter. Her voice trembled with something between fury and fear. That necklace was meant for Claire's girl. I wanted it that way. Because Claire married who I approved of. Because her daughter would never bring shame to this family. Gasps echoed through the room. Daniel's face was stone. Shame, he repeated. You call my daughter shame. You call my wife shame. You twist tradition to erase them. His mother's eyes glistened, not with remorse, but with desperation. You don't understand, Daniel. The necklace, those letters, if they're hers, then everything changes. Everything. My pulse hammered in my ears. What changes? Silence stretched until Daniel lifted another letter from the stack. His voice shook as he read. To the granddaughter who wears this necklace. Know that you are the rightful heir of this family's legacy. The property, the inheritance, the name, it passes through you. Do not let anyone steal it. The room went still. I froze. The air in my lungs turned to ice. My daughter, the little girl they tried to forget, the one left giftless, was the heir. My mother-in-law's face drained of color. Daniel lowered the letter slowly. His eyes were blazing now. That's why you tried to erase her. Because with this necklace, She's not just your granddaughter. She's the one who inherits everything." Every whisper in the room turned into a roar. Questions, shock, disbelief, everyone was talking at once. But all I could see was my daughter, clutching the necklace around her neck with trembling hands. Her lips parted as if she finally understood. She did matter. She always had. And just when I thought the night couldn't get more explosive, my husband reached back into the box and pulled out one last envelope, sealed with wax. His hand shook as he held it up. "This," he said, his voice low but commanding, "is addressed to Sophia by name. And it's unopened." The room gasped. My mother-in-law's hands flew to her mouth. I felt my heart stop. The red wax seal glistened in the chandelier light, unbroken and untouched, as if it had been waiting all these years, for this very moment. My daughter's name was scrawled across the envelope in elegant handwriting. Sophia. I felt her tiny fingers tighten around my arm. "Mommy," she whispered. "That's my name." Daniel's hands trembled as he turned the envelope over. His eyes burned into his mother's, sharp and unforgiving. "You knew this existed. You hid it from us." Her lips quivered, but she said nothing. With deliberate slowness, Daniel cracked the seal. The room went silent again, so quiet I could hear the faint tear of wax breaking. He slid out a folded piece of parchment, aged and yellow, and unfolded it with care. His voice shook as he began to read aloud. "To my beloved great-granddaughter, Sophia. If you are reading this, it means you are the chosen one to carry our family's name forward. You are the first granddaughter of your generation, and therefore, you are the rightful keeper of our legacy." Gasps filled the air. I pressed a hand to my mouth. My little girl leaned closer, listening as though the words were being written directly on her heart. Daniel continued, his voice steadier now. "Know this, you will face those who doubt you, those who may try to take your worth from you. But do not let their shadows darken your light. You are not forgotten. You are not less. You are the future." My throat ached as tears spilled freely down my cheeks. The words were more than inheritance, they were a blessing. A prophecy, almost. Daniel lowered the letter, his jaw tight, his eyes wet. He turned to his mother, his voice shaking with fury. "You tried to bury this. You tried to steal her place, her right, her dignity." His mother's hands covered her face now. The room watched in stunned silence. My sister-in-law shifted uncomfortably, her earlier smirk long gone. Sophia's little hand crept up to the necklace around her neck. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling but hopeful, "does this mean I matter?" Daniel dropped to his knees in front of her, his hands on her tiny shoulders, his voice breaking. "Sophia, you matter more than anyone has ever let you believe. This family, it belongs to you." I broke then. I couldn't hold it in. I wrapped both of them in my arms, holding on as if my love could shield us from every poisoned word ever thrown our way. But as I did, I caught sight of my mother-in-law, her face pale, her lips trembling. For the first time, I saw something other than control and cruelty. I saw fear. Because she knew, this night had changed everything. Sophia wasn't just the forgotten granddaughter anymore. She was the one who carried the family's legacy. And there was nothing she could do to erase her now. The room was no longer buzzing with whispers. It was thunderous. Voices rose, accusations flew, cousins clutched their gifts tighter as if they were shields. But in the center of the chaos, all I could see was my daughter. Sophia, with the sapphire necklace glinting against her small chest, clutched that letter with both hands. Her cheeks were wet with tears, but her back was straight. For the first time, She looked less like a child left out, and more like someone stepping into a place she was born to hold. Daniel's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Enough. The chatter fell away instantly. Everyone turned to him, their faces pale with shock. He stood tall, his hand resting protectively on Sophia's shoulder. You've all seen the truth. The necklace, the letters, the sealed envelope, they prove what should never have been hidden. My daughter is the rightful heir of this family's legacy. My mother-in-law rose slowly from her chair, her body trembling. Daniel, please, she whispered, her voice suddenly fragile. You don't understand what this means. No, Mother, he said, his voice cold, final. It's you who doesn't understand. It means the cruelty ends tonight. It means my daughter will never sit empty-handed again while her cousins laugh. It means Elena will never be treated like she doesn't belong. This family changes, right now. Gasps rippled across the room. My sister-in-law muttered something under her breath, but no one echoed her. Instead, one by one, the cousins glanced at Sophia, not with scorn, but with something closer to awe. Then, something happened that silenced even the hardest hearts. Sophia lifted her chin, her voice small but steady. Grandma, she whispered, her tiny fingers still gripping the letter. I don't need toys or money. I just wanted you to see me. The words pierced the air. Tears welled in my eyes. Even Daniel's breath hitched. My mother-in-law staggered back as if struck. For the first time, her mask of control crumbled. Her lips trembled, her eyes glassy. She sank back into her chair, shaking her head. I was wrong, she admitted hoarsely. So wrong. The silence that followed wasn't heavy, it was freeing. Daniel knelt again, placing both hands on Sophia's shoulders. His voice was tender, but strong. You'll never be unseen again, sweetheart. Not while I'm here. Not while this family knows who you truly are. I kissed the top of my daughter's head, breathing her in, my heart swelling with pride and relief. The very people who had pitied us minutes ago now looked at her differently, not as the forgotten child, but as the one who carried the legacy, the blessing, the power to change everything. And as the night drew to a close, Sophia's smile returned. Not the forced, fragile one from earlier, but a radiant, unstoppable light. That night, she had walked into the gathering empty-handed. But she left with more than a gift. She left with a necklace, a legacy, a letter written to her name, and the truth that could never be buried again. And as I held her hand in mine, I knew our daughter's place in this family was no longer something anyone could deny. She was seen. She was chosen. She was enough. Forever.